Welcome to today's video, which is all about how to support head and neck drainage. And in this video, we're going to go through the lymph node points, the order to do them, and who would benefit from doing these. So before we dive into how to do it, let's talk about why somebody may want to consider opening up the lymphatic system in their head and neck. Well, the first thing is our lymphatic system is our sewage system of our body. It's removing the waste products that have built up from cellular metabolism, essentially from us just living, functioning, doing our day-to-day activities. We create waste products, and that even has zero to do with any of the other toxins or exposures that we may be exposed to, like infections or mold, or even toxins like heavy metals, lead, mercury, that kind of thing. So without all of those environmental exposures, our body makes a ton of waste products just by eating, drinking, making enzymes, digesting food, healing cuts, you name it. Every function in our body is going to produce waste products. And our lymphatic system is one of the ways that it gets those waste products away and removes them. Now, when that's not working, it would kind of be like your toilet not draining, not flushing, but you keep using it. Gross, right? Eventually what's going to happen is that toilet is going to overflow. And when our lymphatic system does that, we end up with symptoms. So some of the symptoms that you could be experiencing when the lymphatic system isn't draining properly from your head and neck area can be things like headaches, brain fog, can be allergies. It can be sinus congestion. It can be postnasal drip. It can be sore throats. It can be a whole lot of things, but we gotta get this draining and clearing. So let's talk about how to do this and the order to do them in. Now, if you don't know the pressure or, the direction, and I'll talk a little bit about direction, go and watch that other video where I talk about the amount of pressure to use, because the pressure is really important when it comes to lymphatic drainage. This is super gentle. We do not want to be digging. The more that we dig, the less likely we are to get the results that we want to see. I know it's crazy, right? It's not like a deep tissue massage. So what we're going to start with is we're going to start by clearing our termini. And our termini is the end point. This is where all of our lymphatic fluid drains. So we're gonna do anywhere between 10 and 50 pumps or circles. I usually do a combo of the two. I'll do a circle with a pump. And we wanna make sure that this is clear, because when this is clear, it ultimately creates like a vacuum, meaning it's gonna help suck fluid from every other part of our body when this is free and clear. So we gotta always start with our termini. After our termini, which is just above our clavicles, is clear, or after we've opened it for a little bit, we're going to move on to our tonsillar nodes. So our tonsillar nodes should not be hard, meaning if it feels hard, double check where you are. You could be on the styloid process, which is a bone just underneath our skull. It should be right on the sternocleidomastoid muscle. And as we're doing this, as we're pumping down, you may get the urge to swallow. You might actually start to feel some postnasal drip happening. Those are all good signs, and that's pretty typical. So we're gonna do this 10 to 50 times. And you might be asking yourself, well, when's the right time to do this? Honestly, any time of day. If you wake up puffy, do it first thing in the morning. If you have a hard time sleeping at night, do it before you go to bed. If in the middle of the day you're feeling a little congested and you're sneezing a ton, do it in the middle of the day. It's completely up to you. After our tonsillar nodes, we're gonna go and clear our pre and post auricular. So I like to do both at the same time, and I ultimately cup my ear. And I do both of these at the same time. And you can see that it's a super gentle movement. I'm not doing a whole lot. I'm just tractioning down. Now this, you might get some clearing in your ears. You might feel your ears start to open up and clear. All good things. And here's the other thing. If you don't feel any of these things that I'm talking about, like sneezing, coughing, a tickle in your nose, the need to swallow, like right now I have a little congestion going, so this is really getting it moving for me. That's okay. It may take a little bit of time to get things moving, because the longer things sit, the thicker that fluid's going to get, the more congested it's going to be. Think about like a stagnant pond, right? That water's going to get kind of gross. It's not going to be like super fluid because of the stagnation. Well, when we have stagnation in our lymphatic system, that lymph is going to get thicker. Part of the reason is our body's going to start to pull water from the lymphatic system, especially if we're dehydrated. So hydration is super important as well. After we do our ears, which will be 10 to 50 times as well, we're going to go and do our skull. So just behind like the base of our skull. So I'm going to turn around here and we're going to go the base of our skull and we're going to pull down. Now this is one of my favorites. This one feels so good. Most of us have really tight muscles from working on a computer, from scrolling on our phone, from just literally everything, cooking. Everything we do is in front of us, and a lot of times we're looking down. So this is really going to help clear and open things up. Now here you're going to do 10 to 50 of them. Now, one interesting thing, our brain has its own lymphatic system. It's called the glymphatic system. And our glymphatic system, our brain, only drains at night while we're sleeping. So this is another reason why it's so important to get good, proper, quality sleep, because if you don't, your brain's not going to be draining. And if your brain's not draining and removing the waste products, guess what's happening? They're building up, and waste products drive inflammation. So the more inflammation we have within our system, the more breakdown we're going to have, the more symptoms we're going to have, which can then over time eventually be or result in actual diagnoses of different conditions. So we want to make sure that things are clear and flowing. Now, if you have a ton of congestion, I always recommend going back through. So after we did our skull, we're going to go back through, do our ears again a few times just to clear that fluid that we were moving, go back to our tonsillar nodes, and then we're going to finish with our termini. Now you can do this a couple times a day if you have some congestion. The only time I would highly recommend not doing this is if you are in the acute phase of an illness, meaning you have a fever, you are actually actively sick. Now if you are chronically sick, you have things like mold or Lyme or Epstein-Barr, or then this is okay to do because we actually have to get things moving. Now I would love if you guys gave this a try. And let me know in the comments, how did it go? Do you have a clearer head? Do you feel things draining and clearing? I'd love to hear. So thanks for being here and happy draining.